Alright, in this video, I wanted to talk about the Anti-Toxin Protean Predator. Went ahead and grabbed it, take advantage of the token bonus, which I think ends on the 9th or the 10th. Basically, this is a light armor. So with the armor and shield, you get 13% light, and then the secondaries are wind and energy. So, similar to the Sinister, basically it's the same exact animation. The attack's the same exact animation. It's just a different color scheme. I don't really like this. The one thing that I really dislike about these armors is if you're using clickables, it makes it a pain in the ass to click anything. I really hate this bouncing look. You try to click something and it's like you can't click it, or you're having to anticipate where the item's going to be, or like you try to click a shield but it clicks the guest behind it, and then you have the weapon being held in the same hand as the shield, and so I don't know, they could have done a better job thinking that out. But the other thing that's weird here is it's called Anti-Toxin, so you would think it would focus on, I don't know, resisting poison or transferring if you get poisoned, or eating poison, which I've come to realize there's not a lot of poison eaters in the game. You have your Void Forge, which obviously is the most popular thing, and then maybe one of those skeleton spells eats poison, but I can't really think of anything else that eats poison. I know we have the new Spore, which is a version of poison, but I don't think there's much to eat poison, so might be time for them to actually do that. But basically the way this armor works, so we'll talk about the weapon first. I'm going to say this, I'm a lucky beast mage here. This armor and set is not for mages. Mages can use it. Again, I just picked it because I needed the tokens. I wanted the bonus tokens. I was running low. But the biggest reason why I picked it is the skill here, Transmit Toxin, is enough poison, 6 power for 5 rounds, to fuel Void Forge without celerity. So I have Vanity here, so I'm going to actually show you kind of how much of a pain in the ass this can be. Alright. Luckily that's a big shield. But from here, so I'm basically inflicting more poison, and then you have the Void, Imbue. And so basically this, as long as it always inflicts, this is perpetual basically. This is the one reason why I decided to get it. The other one that came, the Bloodthirsty that came from Black Friday, is a fire armor, and I've got way too many fire armors that I use. And all that does is eat choke for damage. And I'm not really like a damage per second player. Usually, I get extremely bored doing high damage. But as you can see, it just, even though I'm eating poison, the light poison there just grows and grows and grows. And that's the biggest thing for me. Now, the weapon basically gains, I think, up to like, I can't remember, maybe like 15% damage based on the number of statuses that are active in the field. So if you have a status on yourself, it buffs the weapon. Again, I am not a damage per second player, so I personally don't give a shit about that. And this weapon, it just does damage. So this set is more for Rangers and Warriors, for sure. Now, it does have a full set bonus, which I'll get into here shortly. The shield toggles. So basically, you can increase your block rate, and then it toggles over to increase the amount of damage reduction. The block rate mode is pretty stupid because, as you can see, even with the shield, your blocking is 49, 50, 50. There are armors out there that are like in the mid 60s and higher. So the full set bonus will double that, and you'll actually get up to 18 blocking. Well, that only puts you up at 67 and 68. Well, some armors have that, like it's just with the regular shield, just standard. So all that does is bring up your blocking to standard. I would say that even with an added 18 blocking, this is not a blocking armor or a blocking set. You get no benefit from it other than just more blocking. So it's kind of a bad option. They could have come up with something else, like maybe make it backlash poison or something. Doesn't even have to be the traditional backlash that's based on damage. Just, you hit it and you get poisoned or something. Maybe it's got all these sharp barbs on here, and then so they're venomous or something. I don't know. To me, that would have been better. So I think that basically swapping it over to incoming damage, and it's going to be based on total statuses in the field. So you're talking about yourself and the monster. So like, I'm going to do this new spell, Word Flame. So we've got 2 statuses. So let's see what that bumps up to. So you have your damage, lower damage by 12%. Now, I will tell you that I personally like to play the panic game. So if you want to combine this with panic, that works pretty well, or choke, because it's a further reduction in damage. So you can actually inflict panic and choke, and then this thing will actually get reduced damage because you just simply have panic and choke there, or any negative status. Now onto the armor itself. We did show you the poison from this, but what this does here, this skill here, can possibly change based on these. You can actually run one or both. So it says incubating blood rage, incubating Hyro Blight. I can't untoggle it now, so I'm going to do both. So once we have these toggled, I think it's a 3-turn cooldown. So basically, I've given myself Fragile, Berserk, a Light Burn, and a Light Poison. You cannot Lucky Strike these away, or Lucky Break these away. I also tried to move over the burn with Hexbound Shield, and that does not work. Also, we have like I said a second ago, Berserk. So there's a lot of players who like to play with Berserk, and so that'll come in handy if you are a ranger with the ranged adaptive lean. I personally do not play around with Berserk too often, but Berserk is one of those things that has no valuation, so staff could actually put it on every single item in the game and it would just be a free add-on. And that's because it's basically like a lean change. You get worse accuracy for higher damage, but versus standard assumptions, it's the same average damage per turn. And this is why other lean ideas that certain individuals want to push, like with hyper crit and some other ideas, are kind of shitty because there's no valuation. Like if they change the hyper crit to a lean, they could just slap it on anything. They could do a ×2 or a ×9 hypercrit. It wouldn't make any fucking difference because your average damage would not change. And so it'd be like Berserk. Like Berserk, you get benefit by doing a main stat boost, which will increase your BTH or other BTH boosts. If they did that with hypercrit, you'd have to find other Lucky Strike damage enhancers in order for that to be beneficial. And therefore, I think the idea is basically it's shit. But what we're going to do is we're going to watch this countdown. So we had the 3 turns, now we're at 2 turns, and so we're going to do this one more time. So for a lot of players, like, I don't mind it, playing 3, 4, 5 turns, even 10 turns. To me, it's playing the game. A lot of people get turned off by that, especially now that the stat revamp is done, which is all that's done is it's weakened the monster and it's buffed the player in a variety of ways. But once we get down to 0 duration, then we have, we can pick one to load. You cannot do both. But the Blood Rage loaded this next attack, and you can't just hit the attack button. You have to use the skill. So if you decided to pick Blood, you can do them on back-to-back turns, like maybe even a Celerity, which I guess I'll try to do right now. But on the Blood Rage, you're now going to inflict Berserk, which again is free, Prismatic Burn, which is shit, and Fear, which has gotten better since they allow Fear versus Freedom. Even though it doesn't cause the monster to skip a turn, it'll at least inflict so you can eat it. Harrow Blight will inflict Fragile, Poisoned, and Bleeding. So this is the better option. But let me go ahead and do this here. So we have a 38 endurance. That, I don't remember if that increases with light resistance or not. We have a .493 bleed, which is not huge. And then we did inflict a little bit more poison than normal. And then we have to incubate this all over again, as you can see. But I'm going to go ahead and load this, and then we can do all this other stuff here. One benefit of activating these stupid idea toggles, what they're doing is you're just coming up with different ways to pay for shit. And so, much like the Werewolf armor, where they used self-bleed to pay for some things that it does, I think, like, at the end of the day, I know it's different, and I'm not opposed to doing different things at the end of the day, but to me, these are endurance. So that's the other thing. This is an endurance play. It's items catered to that will be best fit with those with endurance. So like a pure warrior with endurance, this would probably work better. That self-fragile is not going to mean that much. Self-poison is not going to mean that much. But by doing like this, for example, your full set bonus is basically going to cap. I'll show that here this next turn. So this is capped at 21%. So you get or 18 blocking. Excuse me on that. I will call them back later. But I just wanted to show this off. At the end of the day, the armor's name doesn't make sense. What it does doesn't make sense. They're just trying to find ways to do self statuses and find ways to benefit. I would have done some different things here. I would have maybe had this inflict more different poisons, maybe eat poisons. Maybe even reflect back any attempt at poison infliction. I don't know. They either need to change the name of the armor, or they need to they needed to come up with something that actually fit the name. But I just wanted to show this real quick. Again, to me, the best features is just there's enough poison here for Void Forge, and the rest of it is just weird. I probably won't even use the shield or the weapon, especially the weapon. I'm not a damage per second player. But that's it for this video.